In today's video, I'm going to break down the meaning of faith in simplest terms, the way that I understand it, and hopefully in a way that you guys find value in and can easily understand as well. If you guys do find value in the message, make sure to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. So the easiest way to think about this is thinking about the greatest athletes, the greatest entrepreneurs, or even a time in your life when you believe that you can achieve a certain outcome. Because we believed, or because these great athletes believed that they can get a Division I scholarship, play at the next level in the league, win a championship, or a great entrepreneur can go and start a business and make it one of the best in the world. Because they believed that they could, they took action. And that's the same that applies to faith. Because we have faith, it produces good works, right? Faith isn't passive, it requires taking action. Because if we just say that we have faith, or that we just believe that we can, produce X result, and then never take action on that belief, then what good really is it? And this is something I'm just trying to explain and break down based on what we see here in the world, right? If an athlete says, I believe I can go and win a championship, but then never trained, what he said, that belief would be meaningless. And so the biblical example that I'll use here that really highlights what faith means and taking action and really believing in God, even when it's hard, comes from 1 Kings chapter 17, which talks about the widow of Zarephath. So starting in verse 2, then the word of the Lord came to Elijah, leave here and hide in the Kerith Ravine, east of the Jordan. You will drink from the brook, and I have directed the ravens to supply you with food there. So here God is talking to Elijah, telling him to leave where he's at and go out, and that God will supply him with the food that he needs, right? So he's sent out, he takes his trip. Hopping down to verse 7, it says, sometime later the brook dried up because there had been no rain in the land. So now Elijah's without water, without food. But in verse 8 it says, then the word of the Lord came to him, go at once to Zarephath in the region of Sidon and stay there. I have directed a widow there to supply you with food. So he went to Zarephath, and when he came to the town gate, a widow was there gathering sticks. He called to her and asked, would you bring me a little water in a jar so I may have a drink? As she was going to get it, he called, and bring me, please, a piece of bread. And so, just to give you some context here, this widow is living and taking care of her sick son. They're poor, obviously, she's out collecting sticks. And what she says in verse 12 is, as surely as the Lord your God lives, she replied, I don't have any bread, only a handful of flour in a jar and a little olive oil in a jug. I am gathering a few sticks to take home and make a meal for myself and my son, that we may eat it and die. Verse 13, Elijah says to her, don't be afraid. Go home and do as you have said. But first make a small loaf of bread for me from what you have and bring it to me. And then make something for yourself and your son. For this is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. The jar of flour will not be used up, and the jug of oil will not run dry until the Lord sends rain on the land. Verse 15 says, she went away and did as Elijah told her. So there was food every day for Elijah and for the woman and her family. For the jar of flour was not used up, and the jug of oil did not run dry, in keeping with the word of the Lord spoken by Elijah. So again, the point of this story is that this poor widow who was taking care of her son, obviously not any resources available for her, she listens to Elijah because, again, she had faith, so she took action, right? And what this means here is that she went home with the little resources that she had, made the bread for Elijah, brought back the water to him, and as a result, God blessed her, right? That food never ran out for her. In verse 16, it says, for the jar of flour was not used up, and the jug of oil did not run dry, in keeping with the word of the Lord spoken by Elijah. So the Lord blessed her, again, because she just acted out of faith. And if you think about in your lives, and even the example that I just used of an athlete who said he was going to go win a championship and didn't put in the work, that belief is meaningless. Without going out and taking the action, that's where faith is really shown. And again, it's a result of having faith. It's a result of that belief that we do the work, right? So faith produces good works. And so I just wanted to share that message in a more simple an easy to understand way, at least in a way that I understood. Hoping that you guys found value in this video. Again, if you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, share it with a friend, leave feedback. Would love to hear any thoughts or comments that you guys have. Thank you guys for watching. We appreciate your time.